February 14th, it is Tuesday and Valentine's Day. But as I record this episode, it is National Self-Love Day. So, on this episode, let's talk about how much our inner peace is very connected to our own self-love and how we fill ourselves up. Some really great tricks or tips, more like tips, not tricks, on how to fill ourselves up, complete ourselves, and come into relationship whole so we can experience deeper and more meaningful relationships with others. That starts with our own self-love. But I've been married, just to give you a background, I've been married for 25 years, and 26 years ago on Valentine's Day, my husband and I had our first Valentine's, and I was pregnant at the time. We were very young. He was in his 20s. Well, I was in my early 20s. I think I was only 21 or 22, which was our first Valentine's. And let me say, it was not what I had expected. And that's what I want to talk about today is when we feel disappointed in relationships, when we feel betrayed or let down or deleted or ghosted or whatever happens in relationships and all kinds of different relationships, how we can take a different perspective or build ourselves up, build up our power, realize our powers so that we can not be so affected, but not from a place of resentment, but from a place of full love. So after these messages, let's talk about maybe if Valentine's Day is triggering something in you and it happens to a lot of people. I've known a lot of people who totally dislike this holiday for huge reasons and maybe similar reasons to mine or even worse, but how we can release that power that it has over us and start to build ourselves up. So come on back after these messages. Let's talk about self-love and inner peace for our soul care. Welcome back to Slay and Shine, Inner Peace and Soul Care. My name is Clemence Lafrades. Today we're talking about Self-Love Day, National Self-Love Day. 26 years ago, my husband and I was pregnant with our first child, and he was very young. I was very young, and I had these huge, dreamy expectations of how couples should be and how Valentine's Day should go. And I remember being pregnant and waiting all day. It was not until 8:30 at night. I remember it like clearly in my mind's eye. Him coming to the door after I had been waiting all day, and he had a bear and roses. And I'm like, where have you been? What happened? And he just didn't plan right. He thought we could just go to a restaurant, and he waited to the last minute, and all the restaurants were booked and there was no reservations available. So he scrambled last minute to get me flowers and a bear. Even his friend told him, like, oh, where are you guys going for Valentine's? Because I can't get a reservation. So he knew that he kind of messed up there and waited too long. Over the years, he got better at planning and being considerate and showing love and giving love. But I also, over the years, unconsciously gave a lot of the responsibility for my happiness, my joy, and to feel loved or feel appreciated to him. And looking back at how I viewed marriage as man being the head of the house, man being the head of the household, I realized how much at my young age and the upbringing and also um, uh, the religious teachings we were being taught is that I interpreted two becoming one as almost like, hey, here's all of the responsibility for my joy, my happiness, my peace, the love that I want to feel in life. I gave it all to him. And that's kind of a lot to put on one person, especially if that person is also responsible for other things in the household, not just emotionally, but actual physical things that need to get done, and money and support, and all the things, right? And so I realized how much pressure and how much distraught I brought into the relationship, putting on all of this, all of my needs to fill me up to him. And he did such a great job, but we also fought a lot. Like I couldn't understand what he was telling me. And we weren't communicating the best in our early 20s. Now that he's in his 50s and I'm in my late 40s, it's a lot easier to communicate. But in the beginning, it was like so hard. There was not enough words that we knew to communicate emotions, to communicate feelings. And so the biggest thing I realized is being taught that he's the head of the household and that there's this father figure, him, and also seeing God as a father figure above me. I realized how much of a release of responsibility outside of myself. So when I realized I wasn't getting all that I needed from my relationship with my husband, I still, even though he did his best and he gave a lot and to the best of his ability, it just didn't feel like enough, and nothing ever felt like enough. So then I sought outside of myself and outside of him for this yearning, this feeling of completeness. Like I needed this kind of love that I couldn't find with him. So I thought, okay, you hear all the time, God's the only one who could fill this hole. God's the only one that could make you feel complete and fill that emptiness in you. So I went gung-ho into being at church all the time. I was at church twice a day on Wednesdays and twice on the weekends. And then eventually I worked there. So I was there pretty much every day, twice a day, twice a week, twice a day. It was, in my mind, if God's the only one who can fill this, then I'm going to go fill it with church because God's in church, right? And so to me, that was logical. Like, okay, I got to find God and God's at church. And so then I'll feel complete. I'll feel fulfilled. And that didn't work either. So I went searching again. The kids were getting a little bit older. I started my business and got really full on gung-ho, put all of my time and effort and passion into my career and into my business, and from a desire of wanting to create a community of women, create a girlfriend sister circle, even a family type relationship with my employees, because I was thinking, I'm not getting full, I'm not getting enough from home, from my husband, and I didn't feel ever completely accepted or approved or loved growing up in my family. So I didn't really have that comparison point, or I didn't have like a reference point of what it's supposed to feel like. So I'm searching. And I was in business for a really, really long time, in my fitness business and my women's only gym for at least 15 years. And by the 17th year, I had a nervous breakdown. And after that nervous breakdown, and 2 years after the nervous breakdown, I was in depression. And in that depression, I sat alone for a very long time. I was alone I even was like without husband in this room. Like, he had his own room, I had my own room. My kids came and checked on me, he checked on me. But I separated myself from society and from the outside world, except for my family here in the house. And first it started off as depression, and then it became an evolution of really being alone with myself, coming full circle back to myself, to a point where I realized I had tried everything. I tried to seek everywhere outside of myself. I try to seek it from my husband. I try to seek it from my kids. I try to seek it with friends. I try to have business fulfill me. I try to have church and all the people at church fulfill me. But it was just never enough. And until I was all by myself, I realized that everything that I needed was already here. So the love and the God I was seeking out in the world, out in other people, outside of me, was never going to complete me, because they too have their own things, their own deals, their own issues, their own hang-ups, and they're trying to fill themselves up with other people. So they're feeling not complete if other people are feeling incomplete, and I'm trying to fill myself up with incomplete people, or people who think they're incomplete. Then I'm constantly sucking and taking energy from where there's energy not really already there in the first place. Then it's a struggle. And not until I was here alone in this room by myself for 2 years, I didn't even go to work. And my husband was very, very supportive. He took over my business for a couple years. And I realized how much I can be with myself, how much I can feel myself. I can create joy without putting that responsibility, that burden onto other people, on top of all their other things that they have to do, and then creating resentment when people didn't come through for me or fell short in not giving enough, or I interpreting that what people gave was not enough. And so I see this in relationships all the time, with people in their workplace, and with their bosses, with their family and friends, is that what I realized is what people give is what they can give. And that's enough. Because when I'm full, what people give me is just the cherry on top. It's the additional, not the completion. You know how when you take supplements or vitamins that come in pill form, or protein powder, they're supplements. They are to supplement, but not to be the whole food. It's not what we're supposed to be eating. It's just to be an additive, but not in completion. It's not a complete whole food. And I know a lot of vitamins will say that they're a complete whole food, but you can't live on it. You can't live on it. I mean, you can only get so far on supplements until it doesn't work, until your body breaks down, right? It's not a complete food. Not until I discovered that God love living in me did I realize that I am the key, that I am the power. And what I had been doing over the years is giving this power away to others, giving the power over my emotions, my feelings, my day, my experiences in life, and how I see the world or am able to live or enjoy the world. My joy was dependent on how others viewed me, how others treated me, how others greeted me or didn't greet me, or appreciated me, or applauded me, or didn't applaud me. And so that power that is living inside of me, I shunned away or pushed on to others. And so if someone was having a bad day or was totally full and had no more capacity to call me or show up for things or be there for me or say I love you or whatever it is that I deem as what a friend should do or what a husband should do or what a child or my offspring should do, then I would be hurt. I would feel betrayed. I would feel disowned or whatever I would feel. But I would take on a victim mindset of, you didn't do this and you're supposed to do that, and giving these expectations. And if you need something, ask for it. But if they don't have the capacity to give it, we should have grace and we should have honor for their life experience, for what they are able to do. And we don't see everything that people are doing in their life. I think a lot of times we have some kind of judgment, which creates resentment because we think, oh, well, they can afford to do this and they only gave that, or they have all this time and they didn't show up for this thing that I was having. But we really don't know the whole full story of their days, their week, their month, or the issues they're going through. And not everybody shares everything. And just because you don't see it on Facebook doesn't mean it's not happening. But as we evolve with grace and full love for ourselves, we start to have this unconditional love and acceptance for other people. And then empathy starts to grow. And instead of having this resentment or this expectation and this judgment on other people, we have more of an empathy and acceptance of what others bring to the table. And so in the beginning, I think, self-love might look like, I got this. Who needs you? I can do this on my own. It kind of starts like that. You're like, we're angry or we're disappointed, we're mad. Like, who needs you? I could do this. It turns into that new Miley Cyrus song. I can buy myself flowers. I can hold my own hand. But again, as we fall more and more in love with ourselves, more and more in love with our own company, and more in love with our powers and abilities to create and enjoy life and the things that we get to do with our life, we see how able, we see our capacity to complete and feel whole with our own efforts. And then in the end, no matter what happens around us or what we think is happening to us from other people or by other people, we'll always feel like we're okay. Like, I honor you. I can say now that when a friend decides to ghost me or to delete me, I may feel disappointed initially, but I'm not disappointed in the person. I might be disappointed in the situation, but I'm not disappointed in the person, because now I can actually honor and respect their decisions, seeing it as their own personal life journey, their choice of how they're wanting to experience life at this time. And I honor it and take it in as it's not happening for no reason. There is a reason why it's happening, and it could be for anything. And it's not here for me to judge, but whatever they're doing is for them to observe and to grow awareness over how they acted, is for their own personal journey of enlightenment, and how I perceived it and how I allowed the incident to affect me is for my own observance, for my own awareness. And I get to decide how I let myself feel about it. Am I going to be distraught for a month over losing this friend? Or am I going to be like, thank you. I honor your decision. I wish you well. And I get to observe my emotions. And I'm really proud because recently it happened to me. And I was like so impressed, like patted myself on the back, because in the past, I'd be pining and crying and distraught over losing someone from my past abandonment issues as a child, and then feeling abandoned as an adult. I would be so sad and so distraught for months. And now it's like, okay, I see your pain, and that's why you reacted and acted the way that you did, and that's why you delete. People don't just delete people or ghost people for no reason because they're being assholes. It's, I think, us labeling people as bad or not a good friend. It's not about the labels. But as we grow in this full love for ourselves, we start to have empathy for other people, and we start seeing their pain. Like, oh, I see your pain. I see that you've gone through these things. And maybe, like with myself, who I normally will be triggered into abandonment, feeling of abandonment, they may be going through the same thing. And so for me, it's more of I accept that this is your journey. I accept this is your choice of action and experience in this life. And no matter what happens, I'm still going to be fine with or without you or anyone else. I'll still end up on my feet because I know the God love that is in me. I know the God that is in me, with me, and acting through me. So in that instance, there is no incompleteness. They're not taking anything away from me by leaving me, and they're not affecting me in any way. They're not robbing me of anything, because you can't take from me what is mine. And what is mine is right here in me. So, I think it's more of evolution now because I am older and I've gone through a lot of loss. And then through all the losses, I realize I still end up here on my feet, and I get to be me after I mourn, of course, after I heal, after I observe and create awareness and then enlightenment through the process. But after the process of all of that, I'm still standing and I'm still here, and I still get to create joy. I still get to create peace. I still get to experience life fully. And there was nothing taken away from me. And so I hope that helps you. And the things that I wanted to suggest when building your self-love muscle is spend a lot of time with yourself. It might be journaling at first, just turning on music and getting to know your soul, getting to know what kind of music you like, what kind of music excites you and gives you joy, makes you want to dance, makes you want to sing. Then get to know the kinds of foods, the kind of textures, the kinds of colors, the kinds of clothes, the kinds of experiences that you like to have, what kind of feelings you like to have in your body, what kind of activities and exercises pumps your blood and makes you feel alive. And it takes time to sit with yourself, go date yourself, and really think for yourself, as opposed to putting that responsibility on someone else to create these experiences for us, but learning to use your own power to create these experiences for yourself, so that when you go into a relationship with other people, you're not an empty vessel that needs to be filled up. You're bringing your full joy, your full love, your full excitement and passion in life to partner with someone else to add. And so when two or more come together, there is this richness, this deeper intimacy, as opposed to someone taking and one person giving, and or two people using each other to complete each other for one person to feel needed and the other one to feel like they need the other person to complete. So, and that I just described toxic codependency. Either you're taking because you feel incomplete, or you're giving because that's the only way you could feel valuable. Both not from a full place, but an incomplete place. So hopefully this episode helps you. If it does, please remember to like and subscribe to this YouTube or podcast. Much love. Spend lots of time with yourself in not just manicures and pedicures and hair appointments, but real intimate, get to know your soul type of experience. Much love. Bye-bye.